afternoon, everybody. Please be seated. I would like to welcome everyone, friends, family. They're no strangers for Raymond, who have come here today to pay respects to a very, very special person. I'm Brian Conton, Raymond's first cousin, but in many ways, Raymond's firstborn. Raymond was very much a father figure to me, and that father figure relationship was passed down to me from my mother. Because Raymond's father, Uncle Ray, was her father figure, who got her a scholarship to come study in the UK, and never failed every month to send a little stipend. She grew up in his home and returned to his home when she came back from the UK. So this is an honor to be asked to host this gathering before we commit his body lying here to the elements. Raymond passed away a month ago on the 30th of August, just shy of 8 years and 7 months. Anyone who knows him knows he appreciates an audience. And in life, as well as death, he made sure that he commanded that audience. He was surrounded by family and close friends as he left this earth. And I am sure on the other side, there will be a welcoming committee of aunts, uncles, and numerous other friends of the other sex to welcome him. Raymond had been ill for some time, but it never dampened his playful, teasing, open-minded spirit. He always liked to challenge those who had his best interest at heart. And his carers, his nurses, his doctors were never going to have a placid patient, and they thought that they met him at a difficult time. Some of us know better. If you want his respect, you have a fan for life. If not, you'd be fighting a losing battle. When Raymond sets his mind on helping others, he knows no bounds. Sorry, he knew no bounds. His maverick vision and frank honesty could sometimes be completely destabilizing. Yet this was the charm of a unique man. Today we'll hear from those who know him well, and we'll find out a little bit more about what made the man who was Raymond Eastman so special. And to start off, I would like to welcome someone who has known Raymond possibly for the longest here. That is his sister, Auntie Claire. Auntie Claire, please.
My name is Claire, and I am Raymond's sister, sharing with you about his earliest years. I have called them my reflections on his life rather than a tribute, for reasons I will explain. I am the fourth child of Raymond and Esther Eastman, Raymond was the first. There were 9 years between his birth and mine, and 2 other siblings, Desmond and Linda. By the time I could formulate the memories that truly belong to me and are not hearsay from others, was when I was 6 and he was 15. During this period of my life, Raymond and Desmond were like 2 peas in a pod. I remember clearly being called CGBC by those 2. Kergo Brinkam, resident snitch in the family for those who do not know Creole. At that time, my brothers had discovered music, girls, and Raymond particularly had discovered electronics. He could fix any radio or machine that would not work. Raymond was the technical expert, whereas Desmond was the musician extraordinaire. They both had one great thing in common. They were handsome 6-footers whom the ladies loved and seemed to be forever faithful to. I must say, as the kid sister, I enjoyed that love by extension. I wish to pause and rewind a little. Our family was not the typical Creole family. For starters, my father was agnostic, my mother a monthly churchgoer, and my grandmother a Jehovah's Witness. The boys, Raymond and Desmond, ignored all religious influences. My father, despite his rather unsociable ways, took the boys swimming and fishing and bought them bicycles, in those days a rare thing in Freetown. We had picnics on Hamilton Beach with the Trexin Roberts and Jones families. Those were brilliant days in Sierra Leone. My father would start his day with the great classical musicians. Raymond and Desmond were into African and pop music, a recipe for disaster. But whilst Dad may not have approved, my mother was a great supporter of their musical dreams. Kobe Hunter, of blessed memory, their teacher at the Prince of Wales School, helped them set up the Tornadoes Band. They practiced at Bathurst Street. Sil Chinikoka on drums, Skebi on bass guitar, Nylander on rhythm, and Desmond on lead guitar. Raymond was the general, administrator, and fixer. I remember vividly the visit of the Rico Jazz Band, who played alongside the Tornadoes. They set up the Tornadoes Club. On a Saturday night, they would have jamming sessions. My mother encouraged them by making the hamburgers to be sold at their club. Those teenagers had a whale of a time, and even I, in my pinafore, was allowed occasionally to attend a Saturday night jam. Sil Chinikoka tells me they could not afford to buy instruments, so they disbanded in 1962. The disruptive force in our household was the boys' attitude to school. They found music, and possibly girls, far more interesting than boring school. That set them up on a collision course with my dad, a brilliant doctor and a literary buff. My dad had a study full of classical literature and art books. I don't think the boys ever read any. Uncle George Trexin Roberts gave them maths lessons, which they consistently dodged. They were a total enigma to my dad. The 2 Raymonds spoke 2 very different languages. Far more disastrous to family life was the great tragedy of Desmond's murder. I believe Raymond never recovered from that. Desmond's body washed up on the sand at Hamilton Beach, was found by Raymond. 50 years later, Raymond wrote, "Today marks the 50th anniversary of the death by murder of my dear brother, Desmond Sarif. The pain of his death, I still carry about my person to this day. The pain of that death was still palpable after 50 years. The message was sent to 66 people, asking them to remember his much-loved brother. As the fourth child, who has now buried 3 of her siblings and is about to cremate the 4th, I wish to leave you with a message of hope and foreclosure. It is that grace, mercy, and forgiveness are available in Christ Jesus. That, for me, is the only solution to the many curved balls of life. Thank you, and God bless you."
Thank you very much, Auntie Claire. As you probably know, Raymond was not only intent on doing things his own way, but intent on having everyone around him do things his own way. He was not alone, however. He always recruited accomplices. And one of his most willing accomplices was my brother, Winky. Now, Winky has this way of diffusing any situation and making his tardiness seem normal. And the next tribute is supposed to be given by his son, who has inherited that tardiness. So the Winky's tribute was supposed to be read by Marlon, who I do not see in the crowd. So in the interest of time, I'm just going to have to do it myself. So, Winky's speech, Winky's tribute to the one they called Eastman. My earliest memories of my annoying big brother was him chasing after me in King Tom, Freetown. He had been sent by my mom to apprehend me at all costs and bring me back to the house for a whipping. He would then back me whilst my mother administered the whip. He somehow always knew where to find me, no matter where I was hiding. I remember wishing one day to become as big and strong as he was in order to return the favor. But it never happened. It wasn't long after that the rock band phase swept through Freetown. Raymond and Desmond were caught up in the craze, and they formed the Tornadoes Band. Whilst Desi was one of the best self-taught guitarists in Sierra Leone, somehow, despite all the talent running in the family, that particular one eluded Raymond. Not only was he tone deaf, but he couldn't even keep a beat, even if his life depended on it. Try as much as he couldn't play the bass guitar that he loved so much, and would just mouth it. Boom, 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 boom. And after getting tired of being mocked for mouthing the bass guitar, or the air bass, as it became known to my children, because I mouthed the air guitar too, he did the next best thing. He built one from scratch with the help of Pa Willie from the woodworking department at the Prince of Wales Secondary School. Eastman never forgot him as his redeeming grace in the music world and spoke about him in glowing terms. With skills acquired at woodworking class and the electrical club at the Prince of Wales, he went on to build amplifiers and all the equipment that the band needed. Unfortunately, like so many other parents in Freetown at the time, those talents were not appreciated by Uncle Raymond. They fell out with each other around that time and never reconciled. I hope they're able to make peace in the afterlife. My annoying big brother was also a very strange individual. Over the years, he saved me from all sorts of financial disasters with very wise advice. Nobody got rich by spending money. Nobody got rich by spending money. This was his motto. But I never could stick to this principle. The strange thing is, despite this motto, if you offered to pay him to work for you, he regarded this as an insult. But sometimes he would do a little bartering. Just buy me strings for my new guitar, or something ridiculous along those lines. He would never bring himself down to the level of an ordinary worker, bartering his time and intelligence for money. There is some strange, weird gene in our family that affects us that way, randomly. We refuse to be controlled by any outside force. As you can see, I am in what Raymond would call pajamas. As brilliant as he was, Eastman would never allow his time and independence to be robbed from him. He remained fiercely independent until his death, much to the annoyance of his one and only wife, Frances, and long-suffering partners, Abba and Rosamond, and also the departed Teresa, with whom he shared his only daughter, Desiree. She was a loved child, but she had a purpose in his life, and we all came to appreciate that purpose to the end. Desiree, on behalf of us all, thank you very much. He never had a bad word to say about any of his partners. I firmly believe that in the traditional Susu way, he had the capacity to love each and every one of them deeply, all at the same time. To our dear wife, Frances, please find it in your heart to forgive him. He could not control it. It came from the depths of our ancestry and was rooted at birth in his annoying bloodline. To Raymond and Sire, your dad was a great and decent man who was very misunderstood. He left a great legacy that has yet to be discovered. Thank you. So now I'm supposed to say thank you, Marlon. So we are shortly going to see a little video of the man himself. But as I said, Raymond had his own way of making everybody around him do what he wanted to do. And he was very much a father figure to me, who taught me how to ride a bike, and who taught me how to tie a tie for my brother's wedding. And when I rode a bike, he said it was so majestic that my father should buy me a chopper bike. At the time, we lived in France, and my father refused. And Auntie Claire is giggling there. And Raymond went and got Crown Services to send a chopper bike to my father's diplomatic box, much to his annoyance. But my father forgave him, and I enjoyed that bike for a long, long time. That was just Raymond. And so please, if you can turn towards the TV.
Good afternoon, all. I don't know whether Raymond would think I'm doing him justice, but I'll do my best. I'm looking on that side, and I could see somebody who resembles Raymond from a distance. I hope you're not Raymond. Raymond Sarifismon was my brother, my very good friend, and my mentor. I met Baby Ray when I was 8 or 9 years old. He was attending the Interim Municipal School in Freetown, and I was very friendly with his brother Desmond, but I associated with him. Raymond, I lost contact with. We rekindled a friendship when Raymond relocated to Kisidokiad. The purpose of his relocation was to study for his GCE A levels exams. But in true Raymond fashion, he decided to do otherwise. Raymond became a boss man. Raymond joined us, the boys at Kisidokiad, and he got us to revamp an old Second World War swimming pool where we spent all day swimming and fishing. I could recall one evening when Dr. Eastman, his father, came unannounced. He went to the slipway and saw Raymond fishing. He said to Raymond, "Is this what you're supposed to be doing?" Raymond said, "Yes, I am a fisherman." His father was very annoyed, and he left. When he left, I said to Raymond, "Why did you do that?" Raymond said, "Oh, just forget about him." That was Raymond. Honestly, when I was a young teenager, Raymond taught me the facts of life. Raymond would get us and would tell us about girls, what to do and what not to do. If you are fired by a girl, Raymond would be so annoyed. Raymond would say, "What happened? Why did that happen? I told you what to do and what not to do." Believe you me, I will not go into the nitty-gritty because they are X-rated. But that was Raymond. Boy, it's difficult for me to talk about Raymond. The reason why it's difficult, because it's been in my life for a very long time. Raymond was my mentor. Raymond was my inspirator. When I refused to study, Raymond was like a dad. Raymond said to me, "You're crazy, you're stupid. Why don't you want to do it? It's easy." And believe you me, everything was easy to Raymond, but he never did it. Okay, I've just been told that time is against me, so I try and wrap it up as best as I could. I could go on forever. Okay, I will continue at the repass. But believe you me, Raymond was the only guy I knew who had no fear of death. And to cut it short, Raymond was a pagan. But Raymond performed a miracle, even though he was a pagan. I'm sure Francis would agree. There was this guy called Dr. Frank. He was living with Francis and Raymond. He died in Raymond's hands, and Raymond brought him back to life. Am I wrong, Francis? This was Raymond. Raymond was, without a shadow of doubt, in my view, the cleverest of his generation. Raymond could have done whatever Raymond wanted to do. But did he do it? He did everything in his own fashion. Did Raymond have a fulfilled life? It is debatable. But I would say that Raymond lived the life of Raymond for Raymond. To all those who love Raymond, including myself, I say Osho. I could only say goodbye to Raymond. Adios, Raymond, adios. Maybe we might meet again, who knows? Thank you.
Hi, for those of you that don't know, I'm Raymond's son, C-Ray. I'm the second one, I'm the short one. My brother, he's the big one. Right, so where to begin about my dad? When I first told my friends that my dad was dying, the thing that came back was that he was a character. Oh, that guy was a character. What does that mean? What does it mean to be a character? We've all met people that were successful in life or whatever, and they were boring as sin. No one could say that about my dad, that he was boring. When you think of someone who has a character, you think of someone who's unconventional. And my dad, he was certainly that. I'm not going to pretend that he was the best father in the world. He wasn't, far from it. But that didn't mean that I didn't learn from him. It didn't mean that he didn't love us. He loved us in unconventional ways. He had a somewhat bizarre view of careers. And in various fields, he would readily give career advice, but I can honestly say I don't ever remember him having a job. He would have a keen interest in what some people will call junk, but he would see as potential in seemingly every broken electrical item he would come across at his much-loved boot sales. Goodness knows how many items he bought over the years, but he would often have someone in mind when he bought something to repair. And he loved the thought of saving someone some money on repairing something he'd picked up for like £3 at a boot sale from some unsuspecting boot sale victim that didn't know what they were selling. He would buy it, fix it, and then give it to them. And as Femi and Brian were saying, you know, never ask for anything, and he was saying, oh, you just give me some favour. That will never come to fruition. He loved that. That's how he showed he cared. In my younger years, there were so many times my dad would turn up with some guitar, pedal, or some random musical instrument. I think even one of them's here. When my friends asked about how he got his devices, I proudly tell them, my dad, he got it from some boot sale. He once picked up a hi-fi from a skip, and he repaired it. I had that hi-fi for years. I took it to university, but my favourite thing about that hi-fi was that my dad went back to the house that the skip was outside, and he asked them for the remote. He was shameless. The unconventional, shameless nature could often mean whatever came into his head, he would say it, with little sense of time and a complete disregard to whoever was listening. You put on weight since you last see him, he'd tell you. You bought a new car he didn't like, he'd call you stupid. You have a hard luck story, it's your fault. Well, at least you know where you stood. And with him as a dad, although he wasn't always there, he didn't play that conventional role, that model father figure. One thing I never doubted was that he loved his children. And he was proud of us. The look of delight on his face when I was younger, watching me play guitar badly with my friends. How he would look in such admiring tones and talk about Desiree, about what a great mother she was, and lovely children she had. How he loved to see Ray's name on credits when it came on TV and would proudly tell everyone about it. He was my dad. I loved him and I'll miss him. Rest in peace.
Hello, everybody. I've already been spoken of at least 10 times in this whole procession, but my name's Clenham. It's a pleasure to meet all of you. I don't think I remember half of your faces. I apologize in advance. It's been a long growing up, but yeah. I'm going to start off reading. Yeah. Dearest Grandpa, My mother once told me that of all my relatives, the person that I resemble most physically is my grandfather. I'm both humbled and honored to be associated with him in that way. After seeing his younger photos, I'm happy to say that I do see the resemblance. And it brings me comfort to know that when I look in the mirror, I see a part of him within me. In truth, some of my most cherished memories are with the wonderful man to many of you may know as Raymond Sarif Eastman or Sarifu. Yet to me, he was simply Grandpa. That name alone, however, cannot begin to sum up the depth and love and connection I feel towards him. From a young age, I remember waking up early to accompany him on his numerous car boot sales. Without fail, these outings are amongst my fondest memories, most precious memories. How I wish I could revisit those days, learning on not how to bargain and how to save money, but also learning so much about him in the process. I learned how to conduct myself with respect and regard for every person I meet just by being around him. These were not only the lessons he taught me. I vividly recall his tutelage whilst I was studying for my SATs, GCSEs, and beyond, even now at my A-levels and whatever endeavor I have in life. And the wisdom he shared with me of how to navigate life, he was instrumental in shaping the person that I am today. What I will miss most are the limitless, non-judgmental conversations we shared. And when I say limitless, I mean limitless. This man is the only person I could genuinely talk to without any filter or any regard. But yeah. I would receive a thoughtful advice or whatever problem or challenge I was facing, he would be there to provide that without fail. As previously said, if I was stupid, he'll tell me I'm stupid. It's okay, but yeah. I'm 19 now, and for all the years of my life, my grandpa has been a constant presence, a role model in many ways. He helped me into the man I am today. And for that, I'll forever be indebted to him. Though he was not my father, he showed me love as if I was his own child. As a way of honoring him, I will carry his principles and approach within me, keeping his memory alive with me always. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Clennon. Raymond Sarif Alexander Eastman, whose name transitioned from Baby Ray, as my mother used to call him, to Papa Ray, as I used to call him, to Grandpa Icy, as my children used to call him. Because the first time they met him, he just said to me, "I say, old chap." And that just stuck. His thoughts, his wisdom, his memory, the effects of his actions will live on beyond today. But the time has come to say goodbye to the body of Raymond. Now we give the body and his guitars back to the forces of the earth. Please stand as we bid farewell to our father, brother, grandfather, cousin, and most importantly, our friend, Raymond. Thank you.